Right guys, this is going to be a video regarding the Elemental Affinity Masterwork Armor and why it's still important, the Elemental Affinities. Also, what's the most important stats to synergize with the new exotics that we're aware of that's coming in this game. So, just if you want to skip to a certain character, you can. I'll be doing Titan, Warlock, Hunter, but before them, I'll talk about the Elemental Affinities, why they're important. So, a lot of people got confused, and I know people who like this who seem to think that the Elemental Affinity now is gone. Like, oh, I just put on my best set, it doesn't matter now. Well, it still does, because in the TWAB they said Elemental Affinity is changing for reloaders. It didn't say anything else. We're still going to have Elemental Affinities in the game, right? But the reloaders are changing. So, there won't be enhanced reloaders, it'll just go down to a loader. So, Solar is auto rifle. Void is grain launcher, and so on. All of it will be generic. It'll be Void, Solar, or Arc for all of the load. They're not changing other stuff. For example, if I go to class armor, this is one of the main sort of things I can say. So, for example, all perks, Solar is always recuperation and will continue to be the best one. The Void ones are better already, and the Solar ones innovation, and so on and so forth. You can see all the affinities. So all this is going to stay the same. So if you need a build where you need outreach, double outreach for that melee ability on your class ability, then you need arc. If you need hands-on for super kills, right, you need arc. And you need, if you need solar for enhanced assets, then you need solar armor. And you need to have, you know, plenty of armor. And it doesn't just stop there. Same with cell builds, same with energy fire builds. The strongest build in the game right now are taken barrier builds, fallen builds, and high builds. That's all going. The Taken staying for the last wish, but the rest of it's going. So what's the next strongest thing that we have in the game right now? Well, I believe it's hybrid high energy fire charge light builds / cell builds, because you can pair cell builds with charge of light builds, which I've done so many times in videos before on solos and stuff. Or you can go all in for a cell build or all in for a charge of light build. You only have 5 slots for this. So you've got to pick wisely. One example would be you can mix arc and solar sets to do an insane amount of damage. So we can rock a lucent blade, which is arc, with a supercharged build. That requires charged up, and there's supercharged as well. Trying to look for. For some reason it's not on here. Kind of strange, but basically it'll be charged up and then supercharged, which I'll show on the armor. That'll be easy to do. So for example here, I could run a supercharged build and a charged up, which gives me a ×5 charge of light with a arc lucent blade. So doing stuff like that, and then not only that, we can put a high energy fire with a shield break or something on as well. Just depends, like I said, you've only got 5 slots, and if you put an exotic on, you have 4 slots. But, so you have to pick and choose, but there's multiple ways of combining all these mods together. So that's why having a void set handy, and an arc set handy, a full arc set and a full soul set, you have all these mods available to you at any given time, so you can quickly change it. If there's a certain meta for something, you're on it already. The thing with it is you're going to need at least 15 masterworked pieces of armor, with 1260 power cap minimum to work for next season. That's 15. So that's 3 helmets, you know, void arc, so it's free this, free that, free, you know, and so forth. Do that for your main character. Whatever your main character is, focus on that. If you're a main hunter, then focus that. If you haven't got time for the other two, you're going to have to just leave them at the wayside and focus on your main. If you've got time and you've got the mats, do them all. And if you do play all characters, loads of people that do, then do them all. That will be 45 pieces, which will be a lot. I understand it, but if you have any armor that's expiring, like this is 1260, so all this is righteous armor from Shadowkeep, I can delete this and reinvest it into some other armor, because you get your shard back. So I can reinvest it and then invest it into new armor and maybe make a new void set, because this void set's going to go out for me. My arc and solar I'm good on. Okay? So that's what you want to do. Obviously invest into the highest stat armor that you get. A good place to do it is Prophecy. Farm the final boss for high stat armor with a team over and over, share checkpoints. or invest into the tower with the umbral engrams and do the higher stat, and you can focus an engram for discipline, recovery, whatever. You can't pick what it is though, a chest plate and that. So that's kind of thing, but you can invest armor that way. All your prime engrams, they offer high stat rolls. Sometimes I've gotten 64s and 65s of primes, so don't always insta delete your primes. Sometimes get high stat rolls off that. So that's the reason why you want void arc sets on all your characters. I could talk more about the points, but there's too much in for one video. So now on to the stats that's going to be important for each exotic going forward for each class. So Titan first. On the Titan we're getting two new exotics. We're getting the exotic gauntlets Icefall Mantle and the helmet Precarious Scars. So the helmet gives us an overshield when we revive a downed ally, and it also tethers that overshield to other adds. So on a Well of Radiance, if I was on my Warlock and pop a well, if anyone steps in the well, you get tethered in the well. People don't notice this, but there's actually like a tether point. Same thing as what we will be on there, but there's no rift. It's just a tether. So I'm imagining the overshield's just transferring it to the other guardians. That's it. I don't know anything else about it. I've only seen a clip of it once. That's just an educated guess on it, and it'll be good in Grandmaster Nightfalls. As for the exotic gauntlets though, which is mainly what I want to talk about, is the exotic gauntlets Icefall Mantle transfers your Tower and Barricade, or your Rally Barricade, whatever it is, your Barricade to a overshield. So you get, like for example, the closest thing I have a 1-for-1 comparison is defensive strike. So if I melee an enemy on top tree bubble, I get an overshield. So, like so. The only thing with this is, I am putting myself at risk to get the overshield in a Grandmaster. Imagine these adds as swords or skulls or whatever, what have you. With the 8 gauntlets, I could just go like this. Obviously there would be no barricade. I would do the animation, get the overshield, and then I can fight the adds. Overshield. And then the thing with this is, highest resilience, that is 14 seconds. So every 14 seconds we get this. Every 14 seconds we get an overshield. So it'd be an overshield build. Titans, this would be great for endgame, it would be great for solo play, it would be great for everything in the game. The survivability is above all the most important thing above any stat. That's why people run concussive dampeners, that's why people run major resist, boss resist. That's why people run high barrier and taking barrier. But all that stuff's gone. Okay? Taking barrier and taking armaments will be for last wish, but that's it. So survivability is always the best thing. That's why Warlocks are the strongest class in the game for PvE, because they've got a healing rift and stuff. This is going to switch things up a little bit because we're getting that 14-second overshield. So there's other things that you can enhance it if you run these two mods. So distribution, every time we proc a class ability, we get all ability cooldowns, which helps out. If I just waste my bubble, waste all my stuff. So not only does it give me super, it also gives me class ability energy back for the use of my class ability. You see I get that little bit of energy, but it reduces the class ability, the resilience, the ability energy, sorry, by around about half a second. You know? So it's not a big deal, but if you're going to invest into a build like this, you may as well, because you're going to be doing a lot of these types of moves. Because the build's centered around that. You know, it's a circle. Once you've got the 100% resilience, you want to invest in either recovery or a discipline / strength, depending on the stasis class and how powerful it is. If it has a really OP nade, like in 2017, Pulse Grenade was broken on Striker Titan. So guess what? It was one of the best things for Leviathan. It was one of the best things for Night Fossils. It was one of the best things for this, that, the other. So if there's something broken like that, then invest into that start. So if the grenade's OP, invest in it. If the melee does something with a fragment or something, then invest into maybe high melee and high resilience. You can't go wrong with recovery and resilience though. That is neutral. That's subclass neutral. It's going to work no matter what you're running. Okay? Recovery being the best stat in the game overall, just because of what you feel the effects in game, the higher your recovery is. Ability is not needed on a Titan. Much intellect isn't, because you have things like bad juju, or you have super perks to help you out with that. Things like remote connection, dire artillery, bleed and edge on arc, and so on and so on and so forth. This is another reason why we diversify. We can diversify our loadout through our armor. You know, so if I'm running a sword build, Let me put my arc class armor on. I want double bleeding edge on. Don't need to invest in intellect. Never really need to. Outside of certain situations, you don't. So that was the Titan. Okay, so next for the Warlock. So same goes. Obviously, you know you want to be Void Arc Solar sets, but I won't talk too much about that. We've already talked about it. This is more about the stats now. So 2 new exotics. There's one called the Necrotic Grip, which is exotic gauntlets, and then there's a helmet called Dawn Chorus. First about the Necrotic Grips, this is going to be a subclass neutral exotic, so you can use it on Dawnblade, Voidwalker, Stormcaller, whatever you want. And basically, imagine I've got them now, and what they do, these exotic gauntlets, is kind of like Fawn, but on steroids. So they, when you strike an enemy with a melee attack, it spreads corruption, like poison, among enemies. So if it's like a bunch of Thrall, like we see in the trailer, there's a bunch of Thrall, melee Thrall, the corruption just spreads, and what it's going to be like, I believe it will work similar to what the detonators work on Code of the Commander. So you do a nade with Code of the Commander, the detonations of all the little explosions spread out, it probably be like that, but even more. So this is focused around your melee. So what would you want to do with an exotic like that? Well, you wouldn't want to run like a high discipline build. You would want to run, it would be reversed. Like we always run high discipline builds. We want to run a high strength build instead. So you would put on, you know, as much strength mods as you can. We've got high recover as well, but we've got the max strength stat, which is 32 seconds at tier 10, which is good. So 30 seconds every time we get that OP melee ability, which is pretty good, especially in a section where you're focused. So if you're on a raid, and you're focused on ad clear, and it's one of those raids where it's heavy on sandbox and there's a lot of ads coming at you, then this could work out really well. But what you can do to enhance it is use the exotic auto rifle Monte Carlo. So what does it do? Well, dealing damage with the weapon reduces your melee cooldown and grants a chance to fully charge your melee ability with each kill. So if we just show you that working now, and you can see how much melee ability energy you get. We use our melee ability. As you can see, all the melee ability energy. And sometimes you can get an instant recharge, as it states. So that would be really good, because then we could get our melee back and then, you know, repeat. So this would probably be the best synergy with that exotic gauntlets. The only problem is this can't put mods in. For endgame, if we can't still put mods in exotics, then you're gonna have to rely a little bit on your teammates. But that's the thing with this build, you know, you could still invest it for dungeons. There's no champions in dungeons, so there's always that. There is other things that could help us. So on an arc piece, we could put on outreach, and we can double up on that. So outreach is specific to arc, right? If we waste our melee, do a heal, and we get a good chunk of our melee ability back. Pair that with Monte Carlo. That's 2 kills, 3 kills back, and so on and so forth. So that's how that would work. And then obviously the next important stat would be recovery always. Recovery is the best neutral stat in the game for general playing for PvE, of course, always. So the next build will be Bad Juju, and the helmet, the new helmet, is called Dawn Chorus. So what does it do? It says that the exotic boosts your damage for your Dawnblade projectiles, along with burning any enemies that come in contact with the projectiles. So this is exclusive to the Dawnblade. Okay? So we have bottom tree and top tree. What would this exotic be similar to, like we have in the game? So there's a good comparison, which I'll show now quickly. So the best comparison I can give, it's not exactly one for one because it's a different class. But on the Hunter has, obviously, Arc Strider, has the exotic chestplate Radiant Flux. Radiant Flux increases the Arc Staff damage and the duration of the super. This is similar, it'll be similar. It won't increase the duration, the Dawn Chorus, but it's going to do similar, it's a similar effect, it's just enhancing the super. So we need to look at what we've got, top tree and bottom tree. Well, with top tree, we need to look at perks that help us with our super. not so much the neutral game. The neutral game's handy though, and both trees have neutral game, as in Icarus Dash. So Icarus Dash is good in PvE and PvP. When you're speedrunning something or platforming, this is the best class for it, right? But you're not so much doing this all the time. Like, I'm not going to be using Icarus Dash in a Grandmaster. I'm not going to be like trying to avoid the shots and stuff, all this. Like, that's just a waste of time at that point. That's where this subclass you lose is. It's okay for mid-game content, but it's not so good for end-game content. This is more of a gimmick, and it's more for PvP, this class. Okay? It has got some good things. The melee is very strong. Okay? Just the all-round utility of it all, like how it synergizes, the heat rises and whatnot. Thing is, with Dawn Chorus, because that's what it's focused on, it wouldn't be good with it. What would be better would be this. Why is that? Well, because it has perks that synergize with the super. So Everlasting Fire, kill an enemy with Daybreak extends its duration, meaning that we can basically use it all the time. Not all the time, but you know, like not infinite, but depending on how many ads there is, way more. Let us show that. Get my super. Now the thing is, it increases damage, and we've seen in the trailer it killed the champion. So I don't know how much health that champion had. He might have already been weak. There was no HUD on to tell. Yeah, so you can't always bank on that. But providing it does do a huge amount, like what Sympaceps would do for the Titan, it would be good. If we can keep getting supers, we get the extension, as you can see. Also, we can use our circle next time. So imagine this with the helmet. We can keep doing that. Obviously, the more ads there is, the better it is. And that's just how that would work. So imagine we had the helmet on. That's lasting forever. So that is way better than what top 3 will be. I know it's become popular and stuff, but that's just my honest opinion on it. Also, the projectiles will auto-seek the enemy. It's got a decent melee on it, and it's got Phoenix Dive. If I'm weak at all, so I'm shooting these ads and I'm weak, I can jump up in the air, do that. Or if I'm weak, I would take cover as I usually would do, and then we get an health regen. Obviously, I'm not damaging myself to show you that. I can show you quickly here. That is insane OP. This is one of the best perks in the game, and people don't utilize it, especially in Nightfalls where there's attrition on or togetherness. Phoenix Dive is one of the best perks in the game for survivability. You've got your survivability, you've got a good Roman super, especially with the helmet. You can kill champions, might be one of the best classes in the game, and end up being better than Voidwalker, but we'll see. Now, it's paired around you having your super up all the time, so we'd have Bad Juju on. Okay? Obviously we'll swap this build up. So I did have... We did have our other armor set, which I'm not gonna... We basically want to rock high recovery. I've got a T9 recovery there, Tier 8 discipline. You know, if I really optimize it, put a discipline mod on this. So now you're looking at T9 both, right? So the important stats. The intellect won't matter so much because we've got Bad Juju on. Now if you can't use Bad Juju because the champions and Unstoppable Pulse isn't on for that season, then you maybe could rock a high intellect. But what you can also do is rock Dynamo, which is... Looks like it's Void. May well be Void. This is why you want all pieces. So yeah, Dynamo, and you just get increased super when you do a rift. So it would help out here and there, but Bad Juju will be the main... Bad Juju will be the main, you know, way of getting super and whatnot. So that's what you would probably use with that helmet, and what stats would be on important. Last thing to say as well, that the recovery stats tied to your healing rift, so the higher your recovery on a Warlock, the better. So you're not only getting that flat buff of 43% on your recovery rate, you're also getting a rift in 46 seconds for me, because it's T9, but a Tier 10 will be 41. If we're at Tier 1, Tier 2, your rifts takes forever, okay? Having the higher recovery on the Warlock's always the best choice. But if you can build around and supplement with other things, you know, like your discipline or what have you, then you can always do that as well. So that was the Warlock. Okay, so lastly for the Hunter, so this is going to be important stats synergizing with the exotic armor that we're going to be getting. So there's two pieces. First I'll talk about the Mask of Bakris, which is an exotic helmet, and what this states is that it changes your dodge ability into a shift ability, which is basically like a blink or an improved blink, a better blink. It's not just what the Voidwalker helmet does, it's a completely different move. So that means if you're running this exotic, you want to have max mobility. Why would you want to do that? Well, because the dodge ability is tied to the mobility stat. So that means it would be a 9-second cooldown. There's perks that can help you do slightly quicker. This perk right here, which is on the Void, it's the same as what I explained on the Titan, right? Gives you that little extra, but you wouldn't need to. Right? The 9 seconds is probably going to be more than enough for a move like that. But it's going to be probably more PvP focused, but you might be able to utilize it good in PvE, because if you're shifting out of sight, you can't get hit by the adds. That's why Blink's good for certain things at certain times in PvE. So if that means you do a shift and for that brief moment or whatever you're not getting hit by adds, and you gain an advantage to a champ, so imagine that knight in the, imagine that knight is a champ. What I could do on see the exotic is class neutral, but I've just thought you could, if this is an educated guess, see if it would happen like the way I'm going to explain it. Because bottom tree Night Stalker you can go invis via your smoke, and top tree you go invis via your class ability. I'm not sure how it would work, but that might override. I'm not 100% what's going to happen with that, but say it does override it, then on Night Stalker we could go invis, do a dodge, which would be a shift, get an upper hand on a champ, and then just start shotting or swording, whatever it might be. So that could be insanely strong for PvE, but without seeing it more, not 100%. But that's all you would do. You would just rock a high mobility. I have a highish discipline, and the way to get easy high mobility is just use Powerful Friends on Arc Boots, which gives you a plus 20 mobility right there and then. So, it's easy to get to climb to that max mobility, therefore you can invest into other stats. So I've got a couple of discipline mods on. I could have alternatively ran a higher recover. So I would have said, right, I don't care so much about my nade, right? I want more recover. So I could have done that. So I would highly recommend using Arc Boots if you're not using Orpheus rigs or what have you. Obviously you won't be because you're using that new exotic helmet. So definitely pair Arc Boots with it to help out with your other stats. Obviously it's going to work well with CQC weapons as well. For the last exotic anyways, moving on, is the, I'm not going to pronounce its full name, I'm just going to call it Embrace Gauntlets. So what it states that they do is it does two things. The first thing being is when you throw your knife, you gain an additional bounce with that knife if it hits a surface. So we all seen it in the trailer, I don't need to explain it so much. It hit the side of that wall and then it killed somebody, right? So that will be crazy things for PvP, but the throwing knife in PvE, okay, like let's check the weighted knife for example, isn't very useful. Even with the seasonal mod where you get increased damage for melee damage and stuff, it's not that useful. I mean, it's decent damage, I guess, so it's not so bad. But it's not worth utilising exotic over. But the thing is that it doesn't just stop there. It's got two perks. The next perk just makes everything, like the neutral game, impressive. So it states that rapid precision hits increase your damage and staggers enemies. So there's a perk in the game called high caliber rounds. So what that does, if it does something like that, it's giving your weapon high caliber rounds for free on, say, a rapid fire frame auto or something, right? And you can just keep, getting precision kills, and then my damage is going up. So my damage is going up as we're doing it. Now on this tree I'm on, as you notice, I get practice makes perfect ×3. This is bottom tree gunslinger. So this neutral game, if we had the gauntlets on, would mean it revolves around us getting precision kills rapidly, and everything. and we're getting increased damage, and we're staggering the enemies. And we can get increased super energy from this perk from bottom tree Gunslinger. Now this would mean that we can't run Celestial Nighthawk, but Golden Gun 3-shot does a lot of damage anyways, which I'll show quickly. What you can basically do is stack, knock them down. Look at that. You can stack and knock them down, which goes for 20 seconds, I believe. So even without Celestial Nighthawk, you can do decent damage, right? We get knock them down times 7. And it's going up, as you can see. Now it's 13. It maxes out at 20 seconds. Which is kind of hard to pull out. Turn around, we can hit a boss. As you can see, 3-shot Golden Gun does insane damage when you get that buff going. So you can still use it without Celestial, and you can use the gauntlets, and not only that, the gauntlets would be helping you out with general play. Just clearing ads, staggering them and what have you. Another build would be 6-shot Golden Gun. The 6-shot Golden Gun's really good for ad clear because you get refund on bullets in PvE. It's alright, it's not so bad. Not only that, you get Chains of War, so Chains of War could stack with the gauntlets for the increased damage and all that. Not only that, you get an increased damage, you get an increased reload without even having to use a reloader perk. The 6-shot Golden Gun is very good for ad clear when there's a lot of ads. Okay? But when there's not a lot of ads, it doesn't do as good. So we'll just show you that. Get this guy weak. As you can see, if you're quick enough, still got 5. As you can see, it would be actually decent in certain situations. The top tree and bottom tree would synergize with them gauntlets. But overall, that's my thoughts. It's my best educated guess. That's all it is. A lot of this stuff might not even be factual, but a lot of it, stat-wise, the stats aren't going to change. Yeah, the stats are going to be the same as far as we're aware. So that was the video on that. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you.